What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fiasco channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So it appears that the console wars has overstepped its boundaries at the moment in regard to one specific video game. Baldur's Gate 3 seems to be causing a lot of commotion, and like I've said in the past, it appears to me that people who are jumping on these so-called console wars are only snagging or grasping at straws whenever it is they see an opportunity to claim that they've won some kind of console point, when in reality they've actually made a fool out of themselves. It's kind of sad to say these things, but I have to put this on display because one of the very best things that we can do is that we can continue talking about this, because there is the, possibility that people will be misinformed if we don't point out these kinds of, in my opinion, what I call lies, or something that I would say pretending, people pretending not to know what it is that they're doing. Now, what am I talking about? So apparently, this is the director of publishing at Larian Studios, and it seems like he's working overtime to put people who are actually trying to spread false information in their place. He seems to be getting ahead of it, because apparently we saw that MBG tried to, in a sense, put out some kind of a message there that Baldur's Gate 3 is a PS5 console exclusive, even though Sony has nothing to do with. And this gentleman here, the director of publishing for Larian Studios, had to actually go and correct this and said it's not a PS5 console exclusive, mate. In fact, what was crazy is he also had to, basically go ahead and clarify to another Twitter account of someone who says their name is TW the Red Dragon, and they were posting something, I don't know what, and he says and replied to them, for clarification, the statement says that Baldur's Gate 3 is in development for Xbox systems, active development. And this person replied and called him an Xbot, saying that he's still in denial. Ladies and gentlemen, when people start to call developers Xbots, that's when you know we have lost the plot in terms of all respect that you can give to video game conversations on the internet. I'm sure they probably didn't check the profile of this gentleman to figure out who they are and why they're talking about it before they jump to the conclusion to throw an insult at someone who is trying to maybe give them the right information. So this is where I think the problem is. Now, what's going on here, and you guys know I like to talk about these things from a business perspective, is it appears that these developers are in a point where they're no longer having this, line of thinking actually come into their domain, because this is actually something that can hurt their bottom line if it gets out there, and it's false information. Now, we all know what a timed exclusive is. We know what a console exclusive is. No one has to tell you that Street Fighter V was a PlayStation console exclusive even when it existed on PC. It was marketed and advertised as that. No one needs to tell you that Forspoken is a console exclusive, because it was also marketed as that. Right? This is the footage that you're seeing here. I'm sure you were wondering, why is he showing us Forspoken footage when he's talking about Baldur's Gate 3? Well, hush. I have not had time to play my Baldur's Gate 3 more than 50 minutes. I've been very busy. And so this is something that we all know. But Larian is actually having to go back and correct these folk and tell them that there's active development of it. And they know this. They were all there when the Larian boss was talking on that podcast and saying that they were having some challenges finding the resources to put towards the Series S development, and they were going to focus on it once they had shipped the versions that were already at hand. And even the Twitter notes had to correct MBG in this particular paradigm. Now, MBG did come out in his defense to say that he was mistaken or misunderstood, but I take it with a grain of salt, because it seems like these mistakes continue to be made over and over and over again. At some point, we need to come to a point of honesty to understand that when you say something is a console exclusive, you actually are using that as a marketing term to be able to fortify a, some kind of a financial incentive for yourself. You're pretty much telling everybody else, go jump in the water if you're not going to buy our platform to be able to play it. That's what you're saying. And you're saying to your audience, we got you. Since you bought our platform, we're going to make sure that you have access to this game exclusively. That is what an exclusive looks like, and even a timed exclusive looks like that. The only difference is it's for a given period of time. So that's pretty much what it is that a timed exclusive is. When a game is not a timed exclusive and you go ahead and start saying stuff like this, you're putting the studio in a position where you might have their own fans actually be misunderstood, thinking that this studio has abandoned them. This is why the director of their marketing had to come out and start to correct these folks, because that is a very, very interesting conclusion and can have a significant negative effect on their bottom line, because they know and they understand that there are PlayStation players who are looking forward to actually playing this game, as well as Xbox players. Even though the Xbox version will come late, they understand that those Xbox players need to know and need to understand that they're actually being, that they're actually being served, and the developers are working on their own version of the game, rather than these folk on the internet coming around here having these very silly, shallow conclusions, calling developers and people who work in the development studios Xbots, or even in the other case, maybe someone calling them ponies. So I guess this has probably gone way too far in Larian's eyes, and they were like, nah, man, we're not going to let this conversation carry on without stepping in. And it seems like they're getting ahead of it in order for these folk not to go ahead and make fans have the perception that they've abandoned the Xbox platform, or they're, in a sense, giving a benefit to the PlayStation platform and abandoning the Xbox platform, when in reality, it's a technical issue that's had them basically stay back because they didn't want the Series S to hold back every other console or platform. Well, hold back PlayStation anyways, or the PC version. So they went ahead and released the game. And for those who also may be saying this, they also have to realize, because they know MBG, TW the Dragon, y'all know that Baldur's Gate 3 has been in early access for over 2 years now, which is where it sold a bunch of its copies, and which is why you saw that huge sales numbers, and you also saw the huge player count. A lot of those people already bought the game. About 2.5 million people had purchased the game in early access, so most of them were just coming back to play the full version of the game at launch. But anyways, I'm going to drop my case here because I think this is a really interesting thing to look at. A lot of these people on the internet, they talk about their own little platforms. They complain about all kinds of different things, but now they want to pour sand inside of the food of the developers because they're trying to grasp at straws to gain some console points. This is a very disingenuous thing to do, and if anyone is doing it on purpose, and maybe not in a sense where we can say we chalk it up to ignorance, even if they're doing it out of ignorance, they ought to know better. So a higher level of responsibility needs to be put here, and this needs to be pointed out in our gaming conversation. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.